everyone, today I'm going to show you about editing your photos in Lightroom. I've been showing you a lot about the Adobe Creative Cloud lately because I use it all the time. This one is a little bit newer to me, but it has been a big change in how I edit my photos. So I'll go ahead and link the Adobe Creative Cloud below if you want to check that out for yourself. They have a 7-day free trial, but if you're going to be a designer, photographer, any of those kind of things, I think it's just really valuable to go ahead and invest in that because you're definitely going to use it. And be sure to let us know below if you have any questions about any of the products within the Adobe Suite or anything that we talk about today. So I've opened up my Lightroom, and what I first have to do is get my photos into it. So you just click Add Photos, and we're going to go and grab all the photos that we're editing today. So you can review and decide, like if you're uploading from a memory card with 800 photos, you can decide which ones you actually want to edit. I wanted to edit all of these. I picked them out specifically, so I'm going to add them in here. And then you'll pretty much be given just those 12 photos to work with over here. And as you can see, all these ones on the left are a little bit blue, and all these ones on the right are a little bit yellow and more saturated. And this is because they were taken with different cameras. The ones on the left were taken with my Sony, I think it's the A6000, A5000, something like that. And then the ones on the right were taken with my iPhone. So we're gonna try and edit these so that they look more similar. So I'm gonna go ahead and start over here, because this one looks pretty good, and I think it's going to be a little bit easier to edit this one to start out with. So I usually use this edit tab, yay. There's also a crop tab, so for instance if I wanted to change up the crop on this, I could do that. I think I am going to leave it as it is for my purposes there. And whenever you make any changes, you can just click enter, and that'll make those changes for you. Exposure is very common. People love to use this one, especially on people's faces, outdoors. It just adds a little light into the photo. But I find with stationery, it can get a little too bright. So some of that pink is gonna go away the more exposed we go. So we don't want to overexpose it. We just wanna find a nice kind of medium here. So I'll add a little bit of exposure. Contrast is going to change up the contrast between the shadows and the highlights. So you can see that makes it a little more garish. I don't usually play with contrast too much. So I do usually raise the highlights a little bit, and I also usually raise the whites a little bit. And this is because we want the paper to look as crisp and white as possible. We also want the whole photo to look light and airy, but we don't want the words on the page to disappear. So if you increase the highlights too much, then what's on that white background can sometimes disappear and get hard to read. So this is a fine balance, and I actually like my photos a little less light and airy than most people, so I find that that helps. And then shadows and blacks, sometimes you might want to bring these up a little bit so it's a little bit more light and airy. Sometimes you want to bring them down if you want to increase that contrast. I think I'm going to go up a little bit. And after looking at this for a while, I have decided to crop it a little because this random little guy right here looks like a mistake and is bugging me. So I'm just going to bring that in a tiny bit. This is all for a DIY blog post that has been posted, so I'll link that below as well. And now you can see the difference in this photo versus the ones nearby. It's a little bit brighter. And then of course we also sometimes use the color. The color on this photo looks okay. We really want these pinks to stay vibrant. Everything is pretty natural because we shot in pretty good light, but this temp is gonna be my favorite because a lot of times my photos either come out too blue, which we'll definitely use that over here, or too yellow, depending on the light that they were in. So you can warm it up a little bit or you can cool it down a little bit. And I think I typically end up cooling down a tiny bit. Then saturation, like if these pinks weren't quite bright enough, we could bring them up, but I think they are pretty good the way they are. So this is just a lot of little tiny adjustments that you can play with, and you start to get a feel for how the adjustments affect your photos, and you probably are used to taking photos in similar light, in similar places, so they're going to have similar feels to them and similar adjustments that need to be made. Of course, you can always sharpen the photo or reduce some noise. It's actually pretty common these days for photos to not be super, super crisp, so that can get a little bit fake looking. So you want them to be nice, you want them to be well shot with a good camera and good lighting so that they aren't blurry, but the sharpening tool, I find, can usually make them look a little too much, and we kind of like that romantic, almost misty look to them a little bit. I also love this geometry tool. So if you look at this photo, it kind of looks like this top portion is a little further away from the camera than this bottom portion, and that's probably because I wasn't holding my camera 100% straight. So you can actually distort this a little bit. In this case, we would use the vertical, and we'll go, you can see it basically tilts it until it looks more normal. So now it kind of looks like these are all the same distance away from the camera. However, now that we've done it, it looks a little bit closer to the camera in the middle, and that's where this distortion button can come in. So if you pull it down a little bit, it basically, here I'll show you a very exaggerated version. It makes it all on a curve there. So this really comes in handy when you're shooting square, like big flat lays with a lot of pieces that you have to go pretty far away to get them in. Typically you end up distorting your photo a little bit, and so you end up having it look a little bit like this. You have to bring that middle portion down a little bit. So of course after this we notice there's these weird guys, so we just crop them out. Nothing too crazy. All right, so these are all of my favorite tools. You can do spot corrections, which I don't do a ton of. So I've zoomed in up here, and you can see that I have this eyelash hair right here. So we'll use our healing brush, which is basically gonna take all the colors and pixels around where you click it and mesh those together to kind of guess what's supposed to be there. So I'm gonna just do that, and then we'll do a couple more. Click enter there. So there we go. So now that hair is gone. We could do something similar up here on this little guy, and it's totally gone. So I love that tool as well. So it's not as robust as Photoshop, where you can do like full-on editing and things, but it's got some of those quick editing techniques that you might want to use. That first photo we did was very different from the others as far as lighting is concerned, but all of the rest of these in the same little section are very similar. So what I'm going to do is show you how to copy and paste to make it really easy to edit a bunch of photos at once. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this one quickly and speed that up for you. So I've got this photo pretty much where I want it. So what you can actually do that's really cool is just Control C. See, it says copy edit settings, and then you can go over here and Control V. And it doesn't copy things like cropping and distortion, but it does copy all of your light and color settings. So then I can go and copy and paste all of these, and some of them it might be a little bit too much because these are different photos, so you may want to come in and change things a little bit on some of them. But for the most part, any photos that you take around the same time of the same products are going to look very similar and have similar edits that need to be made. So this is a huge time saver. Now we're just going to do the same thing for these photos over here, but they just have a very different light, so we're probably going to need to bring the temp up quite a bit to get it to look cohesive with the rest of these photos. So see, now that we've done that, this one looks more like it fits in this section than that it fits in this section. And we can go ahead and copy and paste that. I'm going to make a few more edits before I copy and paste that over. We actually decreased the exposure a little bit on these because they were a little too bright. And we notice this one's a little bit green as well, so we are going to use this tint button, which we haven't used before, and just kind of slide that up till it looks a little bit more realistic. And of course we are going to crop this baby out. So we'll do something similar over here. So of course we could keep tweaking all day, but we've noticed that all of these photos are looking a lot more cohesive together, so we can put them in the same blog post, which of course we've linked below if you want to see how we made these watercolor dip place cards. But Lightroom is such a great tool. There's so many good features, and I didn't even touch on a lot of these other ones over here because we don't use them as much. So this is just for basic editing of your photos, and then you basically just save them to wherever you want on your computer, and you can use them for Instagram, for a website, for a blog like we're doing for these, or for whatever you want. And one thing that I love about Lightroom is when you go to your library, you can search by a lot of different ways. So we could go through and see like what photos we did in January of 2019. We've actually added tags, which you can do by clicking here and clicking over in this tag button, and you can add a keyword. So like this is say green, or vellum place cards, or invitations, whatever you want. Sometimes we put the name of the couple there. And then if you're searching your library, search all photos. So then you can search something like vellum place cards, and that photo will come up. So as you can see, when we started typing that in, we have a few things like vellum wrap here that we've added. So then all of our photos with vellum wraps come up, which is super helpful because if you're trying to do a blog post or do an Instagram post, say about vellum wraps, you can just search there, and then all the photos you have will come up. Say I'm trying to search something that is pink for Valentine's Day, I can just type that in up there, and a lot of our pink photos will show up. So we've gone through and labeled a lot of these for that purpose, but that's one of my favorite things about Lightroom is how easy it is to search. And you can also get Lightroom on your phone and search by those keywords on your phone as well. So let us know what you think in the comments below, or if you have any questions about Lightroom. Linked below this video are the blog posts where we teach you how to make these watercolor dip place cards, as well as our direct link to Adobe Creative Cloud so you can get that 7-day free trial. And as always, subscribe to the Doorbell channel for more conversations and tips for creative business owners. And we do have another video about creating presets in Lightroom coming up soon so that you can make this even easier on yourself. So let us know what you think, and have a great day, everyone. Thanks.